the attention of public authorities, some of whom visited the scene shortly after. Led by the governor of the littoral region, Dieudonné Ivaha Diboa, the team visited the scene at 8 a.m. or rather 6 a.m. after the building is said to have collapsed at 4 a.m. The ACMA media group, to whom the building belongs, published a communique announcing the unfortunate incident. It detailed that one person is missing, one injured, while material damage is recorded. It precises that investigations are underway to establish the cause of the collapse of the building that was still under construction at the time of the event. In a similar story, in the east region of Cameroon, a warehouse used for stocking tobacco has gone under fire, where most of the stock was burnt into flames. According to reports, 55 tons of tobacco has burnt into ashes, but no life loss was recorded in this incident. This is what Vanessa Shuyong reports in the next story.
Massive wildfire has ravaged the Beto Tobacco Drying and Storage Company, Cam Tobacco. The building, large stocks of brewing products like bottles and 55 tons of tobacco were reduced to nothing. While curious onlookers were helpless, it took the rapid intervention of the firefighting brigade to contain and quench the flame, something which the fire brigade commander said they were facing the persistent fires and had to search from its root cause in order to extinguish it. The cause of the fire outbreak has not yet been established, though Major Donatien, Chief of Emergency in the Beto Fire Brigade, said the old building intensified the flames. An administrator from the Federation of Tobacco and other food crop growers in Cameroon expressed frustration.
Face à une grande catastrophe comme celle-ci,
in the face of this catastrophe, it is difficult to explain oneself. The life of many Cameroonians are at stake. We have lost a huge quantity of tobacco that was ready for export. We had commands of about 250 million overall. There is a huge material loss.
No death was recorded, though the job of over 300 workers is in jeopardy.
Now on to education. The first school living certificate and the Certificat d'études primaires (CEP) started all over Cameroon yesterday, June 29, 2021. In the east region of the country, over 25,000 candidates were registered and took part or sat in these examinations, which took place in calm and without any major disturbances. This is what Ekokobe Remy Carol tells us in the following report.
It was under an atmosphere of serenity and strict respect of COVID-19 barrier measures that the candidates in the East region officially kickstarted this year's session of the first school living certificate and CEP entrance examinations. Candidates were dispatched to more than 165 sub-examination centers, and everything went on normally.
We are at the special sub-center of Manju 1, which received first school living certificate and CEP candidates. The examination started in a very good condition without any recorded incidents.
As you see with us, you think that everything is going well today. Students are there, invigilators are there, and of the subjects, we don't have any problem about subject.
The regional delegate of basic education in the East went down on the field and expressed his satisfaction with the arrangements put in place by head of centers for the smooth running of the examinations. Candidates from the school for deaf and dumb in the East region were not absent in the examination.
I am a teacher in the school of deaf and dumb and children with special needs of Beto. All the candidates from this school are present and are 12 in number.
In view of statistics at the level of the first school living certificate in the East, there were about 50 Central African refugee candidates and 599 internally displaced candidates. In total, 21,910 candidates registered for the CEP and 2,458 registered for the first school living certificate in the East region.
In the littoral region of the country, it was the same or similar situation as the first school living certificate and SEP examinations equally took place in good conditions. A look at this with Mange Venasius.
As early as 7 a.m., these pupils were seen in their various examination centers to sit in for their very first official certificate in their educational life. In Douala, reports from examination centers across the region say the takeoff was early as scheduled with little or no hitches as only a few cases were absent.
This morning the Anglophone section had 845 candidates. All came early in the morning, all schools were present in the morning, and for those who are absent, there are just around 7 absent in the whole center.
With the preparation carried out beforehand, the center authorities say things are moving on smoothly.
Everybody, all the vigilators were there, members of Secretariat were there, the president was there in time, everything was put in time, and the question, we started at 8 o'clock as the timetable shows.
From the 2 subsystems of education in Cameroon, these pupils, in their thousands, are writing in the context of COVID-19 pandemic like last year. Reason why barrier measures were strictly respected to avoid cases of contamination. As the Ministry of Basic Education instructed, results are expected to be published in the next 10 days or so. Results which, if positive, will pave the way into the secondary section of education for these candidates.
To round up the news with foreign stories, we begin in Somalia, where political parties have decided that presidential elections in the country take place on the 10th of October this year. While in Eswatini, the country formerly known as Swaziland, a state of curfew has been declared following 3 days of protest, that is pro-democracy protest in the country. This comes as the demonstrators have promised to intensify their demands. Details of this with Rogeatu Buba.
After months of deadlock, political leaders in Somalia have agreed that the country's long-delayed presidential election will be held on October 10. President Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed and the leaders of Somalia's 5 states had been unable to agree on the terms of a vote before his term lapsed in February, activating an unprecedented constitutional crisis. Under pressure, the president reversed the mandate extension and ordered his prime minister to reconvene with the state leaders to chart a fresh roadmap towards elections. According to a timetable, elections for the upper house and lower house are scheduled for July 25th and August 10 to September 10, respectively. Both houses are then convened and a vote for the president will be held on October 10. Mogadishu and the state struck a deal last September, paving the way for elections and a vote for the presidency by February this year. Months of United Nations-backed negotiations failed to get the timetable back, and international sanctions were threatened if the troubled Horn of Africa did not hold elections soon. In a hope of boosting female electoral participation, women candidates will pay less to register. Eswatini, formerly known as Swaziland, has imposed a dusk-to-dawn restriction amid pro-democracy protests that have rocked the country for 3 consecutive days. Activists have promised to intensify demonstrations demanding democratic reforms and the lifting of bans on all opposition parties in the country. King Mswati III, Africa's last remaining absolute monarch, who has ruled the country for more than 3 decades, is accused by the demonstrators of human rights abuses and running a repressive government. Political parties are legally banned, but recent weeks have seen violent demonstrations in parts of the country, with the opposition reporting scores of people injured. The kingdom has traditionally suffocated disagreements and demonstrations, including by pro-democracy trade unions, with unrestricted political power over his 1.3 million people and ruling by decree. The king is Africa's only absolute monarch and one of the few remaining in the world.
That foreign news story brings us to the end of this midweek edition of the news here on DBS Television with me, Cynthia Ngwemo. Thank you for watching and see you tomorrow for the second to the last edition of the week. Until then, have a blessed time on DBS Television.